at my mother-in-law's 60th birthday banquet. The seat of honor that should have been mine was occupied by his young secretary. She was all smiles, while my husband casually dismissed me with, "You're holding the baby. It's inconvenient. Go sit over there." Without a moment's hesitation, I messaged my lawyer, "Draft a property division agreement for me." Immediately, seeing the agreement, a humorless laugh escaped Leo's lips. "It was just a seat. Is it really that serious? How long are you going to keep throwing these tantrums?" I replied coldly, "It doesn't matter anymore. No one will be throwing tantrums at you from now on." For my mother-in-law's 60th birthday, the Hayes family booked the entire top floor of a hotel. The atmosphere was incredibly festive. I walked towards the main table, holding my 10-month-old son, Noah, but in my seat sat another woman, her makeup glamorous. She was wearing a dress in the same color scheme as Leo's suit, chatting and laughing with my mother-in-law. It was his new secretary, Evelyn. I stood to the side, suddenly at a loss. Leo saw me, his brow furrowing almost imperceptibly. "You're holding Noah. It's inconvenient. Go sit at that table over there." His tone was flat, as if he were simply seating an irrelevant guest. The surrounding guests exchanged glances, their whispers buzzing in my ears like mosquitoes. "Isn't that Secretary Evelyn? She and Mr. Hayes look so good together. I heard he takes her everywhere with him lately. They're inseparable. It seems the rumors are true. Looks like Amelia's position is not so secure after all." I instinctively tightened my grip on Noah. Just then, Evelyn stood up with a glass of juice and walked towards me. "Oh!" She let out a cry of surprise, and a full glass of orange juice spilled all over my white dress, leaving a large, glaring yellow stain. "Amelia, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to," she apologized, but there was no hint of remorse in her eyes, only a glint of amusement. Before I could speak, Leo had already rushed over, shielding Evelyn behind him. "Evelyn didn't do it on purpose. And you, why were you standing in the way?" He turned to me, his tone full of blame. "Just go change your clothes." Then, he turned to a waiter, "Get Secretary Evelyn a cup of warm, soothing tea. She has a sensitive stomach and can't drink cold things." I stood there, stunned. There was a time when he would call me dramatic for drinking a sip of hot water during my period. Now, he was showing such concern for a secretary who had made a mistake. Back at the table, Evelyn came over and reached out to play with Noah in my arms. "What a cute baby. What's his name?" Her voice was just loud enough for the whole table to hear. "But, Mr. Hayes, the baby is almost a year old, and you two haven't gotten your marriage certificate yet, have you?" I've heard that children without a marriage certificate have a lot of trouble with school and household registration. "Amelia, you should really hurry up." At her words, the chatter at the table came to a halt. Everyone's eyes were on me, a mixture of pity, ridicule, and morbid curiosity. My face turned pale, and I felt as if all the blood in my body had frozen. Leo finally frowned, but it was at me. "Evelyn was just showing concern for the child. Who are you giving that long face to?" My mother-in-law, at the head of the table, gave me a cool glance and said only, "It's a happy occasion. Don't be a spoilsport." Then she turned back to accept the birthday wishes from other guests, as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, the triumph in Evelyn's eyes deepened. Under the pretext of a toast, she leaned in and whispered in my ear, in a voice only we could hear, "So what if you have a child with him? Without that piece of paper, you'll never be respectable, and neither will your son. He's a bastard." My mind went blank. All my reason shattered in an instant. I picked up the teacup in front of me and threw it at her smug face. The hot tea splashed all over her. "Ah!" Evelyn screamed. The next second, a huge force pushed me away. I stumbled back a few steps. Noah, in my arms, was so scared he burst into tears. Leo stood in front of me, his eyes red with anger. "Amelia, are you crazy? At my mother's birthday banquet. Have you no shame?" He didn't even glance at me or the baby. He quickly took off his own coat and draped it over the drenched Evelyn. He carefully helped her up and rushed out of the banquet hall. The world went silent. Only Noah's heart-wrenching cries and my own cold, numb heartbeat remained. Late at night, the door to the villa clicked open. Leo returned, reeking of alcohol. His face was a mixture of impatience and fatigue. "About today, Evelyn knows she was wrong. She's young and speaks her mind. Did you have to embarrass her like that in public? You ruined my mother's birthday banquet." Seeing my cold expression, his tone softened. "Come on, be good. Don't be so willful anymore." He came closer, wanting to hug me. I instinctively took a step back, my gaze falling on the collar of his shirt. There, a bright, Unfamiliar lipstick stain was clearly visible. I said nothing. I just silently took out the marriage registration appointment slip that I had hidden for 3 years. In front of him, I tore it to shreds. Then, I turned my phone screen towards him. On it was the separation agreement my lawyer had just sent. "This is the end for us." "What do you mean? You want to break up with me?" Leo looked at the agreement, the drunkenness on his face instantly clearing by half. He snatched my phone, staring at the words as if to burn a hole through them. "Amelia, are you insane?" he roared, throwing the phone to the ground and stomping on it twice. "Just because of this little thing today, because of a seat, a few words, our son is so young, and you want to leave him? When did you become so petty, so unreasonable?" He stood in front of me, pointing at my nose, his questions like a barrage of bullets. I said nothing. I just bent down to pick up the phone he had thrown. The shattered screen cut my finger, and a line of blood instantly appeared. Leo instinctively reached for his pocket. It was his habit. He had a sensitive stomach and always carried stomach medicine and a few band-aids with him, but he fumbled for a long time and found nothing. His movements froze, a flicker of unease on his face. I remembered, at the banquet hall, when Evelyn had theatrically claimed to have gotten a paper cut, he had taken out the last band-aid from his pocket and gently applied it for her. I looked at my bleeding hand and suddenly smiled. "You gave your band-aid to Evelyn, didn't you?" His eyes darted away, but his words were still harsh. "So what? What does that prove? Can you just stop making a big deal out of nothing? Can you be a little more understanding?" His voice grew louder, finally waking Noah in the next room. "Wah!" The child's sharp cry pierced the air, like a needle stabbing my heart. Leo ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Crying. All he does is cry. So annoying." Looking at his annoyed face, I asked him calmly, "Which brand of formula is our son allergic to?" He was taken aback. "When he has an eczema flare up, what ointment should be applied? Which drawer is it in?" His mouth opened, but he couldn't answer. The sarcasm on my lips deepened. How would he know? In his eyes, having a child, raising a child, was all my responsibility. He just provided a sperm, and then he could comfortably be a hands-off father. I walked into the bedroom, skillfully prepared the formula, and held Noah, gently soothing him. Soon, the child quieted down in my arms and fell back asleep. I came out and placed a newly printed agreement on the coffee table in front of him. "Sign it, otherwise, I will sue you for long-term infidelity and serious harm to the rights and interests of me and our child." My voice was not loud, but it was clear. "The marital home under your name, which we bought together but was only registered in your name. I have evidence to prove that it is our common property." My gaze shifted to the lipstick stain on his collar. "And this? Do you need me to find someone to do a DNA test on it?" Leo's face turned deathly pale in an instant. He seemed to have been drained of all his strength, staring at me. "Amelia, did you plan all this?" I didn't answer. I just handed him the pen. "Ah." He suddenly lunged like a wild beast, tearing the agreement on the table to shreds, even snapping the pen in half with a crack. "Don't even think about it," he roared, his eyes red. "Amelia, let me tell you, you will never leave me in this lifetime." He picked up a beautifully packaged box from the entrance and placed it in front of me. "Think about your son. Don't do anything you'll regret." With that, he slammed the door and left. I looked down. It was a limited edition smart robot for children, using the child to tie me down again. My phone chimed softly. The screen lit up. It was a friend request. The profile picture was Evelyn's triumphant, smiling face. The verification message had only 2 words. "Let's talk." I accepted. Almost instantly, a photo was sent. The background was a messy king-sized bed in a 5-star hotel. A man's tie was casually draped over a sexy black lace nightgown. I was all too familiar with that tie. I had given it to Leo as a gift on the day his company went public. Below the photo was a line of text. "Mr. Hayes said that a young body is more desirable." "Amelia, you're old." I stared at the photo, feeling the blood in my veins turn to ice. In a daze, I remembered many things. I remembered when Leo's company was just starting out and was short on funds. I, the CFO, had secretly mortgaged the only house my parents had left me to help him fill the financial gap. He had been in tears then. "Amelia, when the company goes public, we'll have the grandest wedding in the world, so everyone will know that you are my Leo Hayes's wife." I remembered when I unexpectedly got pregnant, and we were overjoyed. The day we were supposed to get our marriage certificate, he got an important overseas project and had to leave immediately. I smiled and told him, "It's okay, you go. Your career is important. The wedding and the certificate can wait." The baby and I will be waiting for your triumphant return at home." He held me, his eyes red with emotion. "Amelia, wait for me. The first thing I'll do when I get back is marry you." So, I went to my prenatal checkups alone, endured morning sickness alone, and handled the company's complex finances with a big belly, holding down the fort for him so he had nothing to worry about. And on countless late nights at work, we would squeeze into our small rented apartment and share a bowl of wontons from a street stall. He would always give me the biggest ones and drink the broth himself. "Amelia, in this lifetime, I, Leo Hayes, will never let you down." Those vows were still ringing in my ears, those sweet memories were still vivid in my mind, but now, they were shattered by a single photo. The man who had promised me the world had long forgotten his way home in the dazzling city lights. My thoughtfulness, my waiting, my sacrifices, it was all just a joke. I looked at the sleeping Noah beside me, his little face was still stained with tears. A hot tear finally fell, landing on the cold floor. The last sliver of hope was completely gone. "Leo, we're finished." I spent 3 days calmly packing up all of my and Noah's things. During this time, Leo never came back, but the news about him was everywhere. Hayes Corporation CEO makes a high-profile appearance with his new love at a business gala, spending millions to buy the heart of the ocean to win her smile. Insider reveals, Leo Hayes has long had a hidden love nest. His new flame has moved into his multi-million-dollar mansion. In the photos, Evelyn was wearing a dazzling sapphire necklace, snuggling up to Leo with a radiant smile. They were inseparable. I calmly turned off my phone and called a moving company. The last agreement, I decided to deliver to his company in person. It was still the CEO's office on the top floor. When I opened the door, I was taken aback. The spacious office had a corner partitioned off and turned into a small dressing room and lounge area. Makeup, high heels, all sorts of evening gowns. It was overflowing. I remember I had once cautiously asked him if I could put Noah's play mat in a corner of the office so I could look after him while I worked overtime. What did he say then? "Amelia, this is an office, not a daycare." So, it wasn't that it was impossible, it just depended on who it was for. Evelyn was sitting on the sofa, leisurely flipping through a fashion magazine. She wasn't surprised to see me. Instead, she stood up, holding a brand new designer dress against her body. "Oh, Director, you're here," she said with a sarcastic smile. "Mr. Hayes said I worked too hard at these social events, so he had the brand send over all the new season's collection for me to choose from." I ignored her and walked straight to the desk, placing the file folder in front of Leo. "This is the last one, sign it." Just then, as Evelyn passed by me, she suddenly let out a sharp "ah," and fell to the floor. The jade bracelet on her wrist shattered, scattering all over the floor. "My bracelet," she cried, her tears streaming down her face. This was the only thing my mother left me before she died." Leo immediately rushed over, helped Evelyn up, then turned and glared at me. "Amelia, how could you be so cruel? There's a limit to how much you can bully someone." "Apologize." I coldly watched their clumsy performance. "I didn't touch her. There are security cameras here." Just as I said that, Evelyn's phone suddenly rang. As if on cue, she put it on speaker. A woman's sharp, angry voice came from the other end. "Evelyn, you bitch, you home-wrecking fox, you'll get what's coming to you. We'll always support Amelia. Just wait for the internet to tear you apart." Evelyn's tears flowed even faster. She grabbed Leo's arm, her body trembling. "Mr. Hayes, I don't know who leaked my phone number. A lot of people are sending me abusive messages and harassing me with calls." Leo's face was ashen. He snatched the agreement from in front of me, grabbed a pen, and signed his name without even looking. "You dared to have people harass Evelyn. What a low blow." He threw the signed agreement at my face. "Amelia, you disgust me." The paper cut my cheek. It stung a little. I bent down and calmly picked up the document that, to me, was my freedom. Without a glance at the despicable pair, I turned to leave. At the door, I stopped. I took out a small box from my bag and gently placed it on the cabinet by the door. Inside was the small silver ring he had bought me with his first month's salary. He had said it was a token of our love. Now, I was returning it to him. From now on, we owed each other nothing. After Leo signed the papers, a wave of frustration washed over him. He comforted the crying Evelyn in his arms, his gaze inadvertently falling on the box on the cabinet by the door. His pupils constricted. He pushed Evelyn away and rushed out of the office like a madman. The hallway was empty. He ran to the elevator and frantically pressed the down button. The elevator doors opened. He rushed in and ran all the way to the company's ground floor. At the entrance, I was holding Noah, calmly getting into a black Maybach that was already waiting there. The car door closed and sped away. Leo stood there in a daze, his heart feeling as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand. A feeling of panic, something he had never experienced before, instantly engulfed his entire body. The black Maybach was as quiet as a fortress, isolated from the world. The window slowly rolled up, completely shutting out Leo's stunned, panicked face. I didn't even look back at him. The driver was my long-lost childhood friend, Ethan. He was now the head of the Asia-Pacific region for a multinational investment firm. I had called him a few days ago, and he had flown back from abroad without a second thought. Is everything taken care of? Ethan's voice was steady as he looked ahead. Yes. I lowered my head and kissed Noah's soft cheek. From now on, it's just the two of us. Ethan glanced at me in the rearview mirror, his eyes full of sympathy. No, you still have me. My phone started to vibrate crazily. The name, Leo, flashed on the screen, like a harbinger of doom. I turned it off. This number, along with that sordid past, should be completely erased. Ethan took us to a top-floor apartment with high security. When I opened the door, a warm light poured out. The room was already fully furnished, from a crib to Noah's favorite toys. Even the fridge was stocked with fresh ingredients. It's completely safe here. He won't find you. Ethan took Noah from my arms and held him skillfully. You get some rest. I'll take care of the rest. I looked at his tall back, my eyes welling up. All these years, for Leo, I had cut off contact with almost all my friends. I thought that with love, I had the whole world. Now I realized that when I was abandoned by the whole world, he was the only one still standing there. Meanwhile, Leo stood downstairs at the company for a long time. It wasn't until the taillights of the Maybach had completely disappeared that he returned to his office. Dejected, Evelyn immediately came up to him, a triumphant smile still on her face. Mr. Hayes, that woman is finally gone. From now on, we get out. Leo's voice was hoarse, his eyes as cold as if he wanted to kill someone. Evelyn's smile froze on her face. Mr. Hayes, I told you to get out. Didn't you hear me? Leo swept all the documents off his desk with a violent swipe of his arm. Evelyn was so scared she flinched. She didn't dare to say another word and scrambled out of the office. The office returned to a dead silence. Leo slumped onto the sofa, his mind replaying the scene of me getting into the car with the child, my back resolute. He picked up his phone and dialed my number over and over again. The cold, female voice on the other end always said, "The number you have dialed is switched off." He threw his phone at the wall in frustration. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. His gaze fell on the small box on the cabinet by the door. He walked over, trembling, and opened it. Inside was the silver ring he had long forgotten. He remembered that day. He had gotten his first month's salary and had taken me to the night market. In the noisy crowd, he had knelt on one knee and put this 99-yuan ring on my finger. "Amelia, when I have money, I'll buy you the biggest diamond in the world." At that time, I cried like a fool. I don't want a diamond. I just want you. The memory was like a knife, stabbing him in the heart. He snatched the box and rushed out of the company. He drove around the city like a madman, searching. He went to the rented apartment we used to live in, the dessert shop I loved, the park where we had our first date. I was nowhere to be found. As night fell, he returned to the villa he had once detested. Exhausted, he opened the door. The house was dark and cold, without a trace of life. All of my and Noah's things were gone, as if we had never lived there. Only on the coffee table in the living room was the smart robot for children that he had thrown at me. He walked over and pressed the switch. His pre-recorded voice came out. "Noah, be good. Daddy loves you." In the empty room, that "I love you" sounded incredibly ironic. The next day, the stock price of the Hayes Corporation began to plummet without warning. It hit the limit down within half an hour of the market opening. The entire company was in chaos. Leo sat in his office, overwhelmed, listening to the CFO's emergency report. "Mr. Hayes, we're being shorted maliciously. I don't know who it is, but they've accurately targeted several of our overseas projects' financial loopholes and spread a lot of negative news, causing a market panic." Leo shot up from his chair. Financial loopholes. These were top secret matters. Besides him, only one other person knew. Amelia. A chill ran up his spine. He immediately rushed out of his office and drove straight to the old house my parents had left me. That was the only remaining connection between us. He pounded on the door frantically. "Amelia, open the door. I know it was you. Come out. What do you want?" No one answered. He paced back and forth in front of the door like a caged animal. His phone rang. It was from the company's board of directors. Leo, what the hell are you doing? Why has the stock price fallen so much? I don't care what you do. You have 3 days to stabilize the stock price. Otherwise, you can get out. Leo hung up and slammed his fist on the wall. His knuckles were instantly bloody. He finally felt scared. He had always thought I was just a trophy wife who depended on him. He had forgotten that I was also a top-notch finance graduate from a prestigious university. He had forgotten that in the most difficult early days of his company, I, the CFO, had stayed up with him through countless sleepless nights, creating one perfect financial report after another, and bringing in one investment after another. My understanding of his company even surpassed his own. Just then, a news alert popped up. Mysterious consortium makes a move, accurately targeting the Hayes Corporation. Industry insiders analyze that there may be a mastermind behind it. The accompanying picture was a blurry profile shot. In the photo, Ethan was standing in front of a huge floor-to-ceiling window, calmly on the phone, and I was sitting on the sofa next to him, leisurely drinking coffee. Leo's eyes instantly turned red. Ethan. Of course he knew him. The only male friend I had ever mentioned. He had always thought that Ethan was just an ordinary office worker. He had never imagined that Ethan would be the renowned capital hunter of Wall Street. So, he believed that my leaving him was not an impulsive act. It was premeditated. I had found a stronger backer. Jealousy and anger gnawed at his heart like venomous snakes. Amelia, you're really something. He gritted his teeth and said, word by word. He took out another phone and dialed Evelyn's number. Hello, Mr. Hayes. Evelyn's voice was tearful. Come to me, now. His tone was icy, without a trace of emotion. He needed an outlet, and Evelyn was the most suitable tool. Meanwhile, I was sitting on the sofa in my apartment, watching the rapidly falling green line on my computer screen. Ethan placed a glass of warm milk by my hand. The first step was a success. I picked up the milk but didn't drink it. This is just the beginning. My gaze fell on another document. It contained all of the Hayes Corporation's tax records. Leo, did you think I would only short your stock? You forgot what a beautiful set of fake accounts you made to win that overseas project. And I still have the drafts of those fake accounts. Evelyn rushed to the old house. She saw Leo's bloody hands and grim face and was too scared to speak. Get in, Leo commanded. The car sped off and stopped in front of a luxury goods store. Go in, buy whatever you like. Leo threw down a black card, his tone devoid of any warmth. Evelyn was taken aback. Then she was overjoyed. She thought Leo was compensating her, that he was trying to win her over. She immediately rushed into the store and started a shopping spree. Bags, clothes, jewelry. As long as it was expensive, she grabbed it. Leo just sat in the car, watching her with a blank expression. Seeing her greedy and shallow behavior, he suddenly felt a wave of nausea. He thought of me. I would never be like that. When I went shopping with him, I would only look at the sale items. If he wanted to buy me a more expensive bag, I would feel bad for days, saying he was wasting money. The thing I said most often was, we have to spend money wisely. The company needs a lot of money right now. Why? Why did he push away such a good woman? Why did he hurt the woman who had eyes only for him? For the sake of this vulgar woman in front of him. The more he thought about it, the more his heart ached, and a sharp pain started in his head. Mr. Hayes, I'm done. Evelyn came back to the car with bags and bags. A huge smile on her face, she showed off a new, limited edition handbag to Leo. Mr. Hayes, look, isn't it beautiful? I've been looking for this for so long. Shut up. Leo cut her off coldly. He was now incredibly annoyed by the sound of her voice. The smile on Evelyn's face froze again. Leo started the car and drove her straight back to her place. Here are your things. You can get out now. He threw all the shopping bags at the door, didn't even look at her, and drove away, leaving Evelyn all alone. In a daze, Leo returned to the empty villa. He opened the liquor cabinet and started chugging down one bottle after another. Even alcohol couldn't numb the pain in his heart. He stumbled into Noah's room. The smart robot was still lying quietly on the floor. He walked over and kicked it. The robot hit the wall, let out a piercing electric sound, and then went completely silent. He started smashing things like a madman. Noah's toys, my dressing table, our only photo together, everything that held our memories was shattered by his own hands. Until he couldn't smash anymore, he collapsed in the mess, like an abandoned dog. His phone rang. It was his mother. Leo, what's going on with you and Amelia? I went to the old house to find her today, and the neighbors said she had already moved out. And the company, what's going on with the stock price? The rumors are flying everywhere. Are you keeping that secretary of yours? Let me tell you, you can play around with that kind of woman, but she can never enter our Hayes family. Amelia is the only daughter-in-law of our family, Noah's mother. You go find Amelia for me right now. Do you hear me? Leo listened to his mother's ranting and suddenly started to laugh. He laughed until tears streamed down his face. Now you know I'm the only daughter-in-law. At the banquet, when I was being humiliated, where were you? When Evelyn implied that Noah was a bastard, where were you? Now, the Hayes family is on the verge of collapse, and you remember my good qualities. It's too late. It's all too late. The next day, an anonymous tip was sent to the tax department. The letter contained a complete chain of evidence of the Hayes Corporation's tax evasion. The evidence was conclusive and irrefutable. The tax department immediately set up a special task force to conduct a full investigation into the Hayes Corporation. As soon as the news broke, the already precarious stock price collapsed completely. Countless shareholders protested in front of the company, demanding an explanation from Leo. The board of directors held an emergency meeting overnight and removed Leo from his position as CEO. From the high and mighty Mr. Hayes, he had become a pariah overnight. I saw the news. Ethan was sitting across from me, elegantly cutting his steak. Now, he shouldn't have time to bother you anymore. I watched the news, seeing Leo being cornered by reporters, looking pathetic. I felt nothing. This isn't enough. I put down my knife and fork. I want him to have nothing. Ethan smiled. As you wish. He handed me a document. Do you remember the trust fund your father left you? I was taken aback. My father had passed away when I was very young, leaving me and my mother a trust fund. He said that the money could only be used when I got married. Later, my mother passed away, and I met Leo, and I had completely forgotten about it. Back then, you secretly mortgaged the house your mother left you to help him. Ethan looked at me, his eyes full of sympathy. But what I didn't tell you is that your father was my godfather. He had anticipated that you would be deceived, so he added a clause to the trust. This fund can only be activated by you personally, or by me on your behalf, for your career or living expenses. The money you used to buy that marital home back then was not your joint savings. It was money I transferred to you from this fund. This was the first twist I hadn't expected. I had always thought that house was bought with the blood, sweat, and tears we had saved up together. I had always thought that for him, I had already given my all. I never expected that all along. An invisible hand had been protecting me. I've kept all the transfer records, Ethan said. Legally speaking, that house is 100% your personal property. My tears finally fell, not because of Leo, but because of my long-gone father, and this man in front of me, who had been silently protecting me for so many years. Don't cry. Ethan took out a tissue and gently wiped away my tears. Anyone who bullies you should pay the price. Leo was taken in for investigation by the tax department. All his assets, including the marital home he thought was secure, were frozen. He was locked in a small interrogation room for days and nights without sleep. He couldn't understand. He couldn't understand why I was so ruthless. He couldn't understand where I got the money to buy the house. Until his lawyer presented him with bank statements. He saw the signature, Ethan, and the name of the trust fund he had never heard of, and he completely broke down. It turned out that his proud career, his wealth, had been built on a sandcastle I had given him from the very beginning. He didn't marry me. He married into my family. This realization was worse than death to him. Evelyn's fate was no better than Leo's. I had someone anonymously send evidence of her falsified academic and work credentials to all her colleagues. At the same time, the mother's heirloom jade bracelet she had broken was exposed as a fake from a shopping website, costing $9.99 with free shipping. Suddenly, Evelyn became the laughingstock of the entire company. Everywhere she went, she could feel the pointing fingers and undisguised ridicule behind her back. She went to the new CEO and cried, saying she was framed. The new CEO was someone I had Ethan arrange, a sharp and capable female executive. She didn't even look at Evelyn and just threw out, "The Hayes Corporation doesn't support idlers, and certainly not liars. The HR department will talk to you. Go handle your resignation yourself." Evelyn was fired. She lost the job that allowed her to access high society and satisfy her vanity. Even worse, her glorious deeds were posted online by a gossipmonger. Home-wrecking secretary fakes resume for promotion. $9.99 motherly love. These two topics quickly trended. Countless netizens flooded her social media accounts, verbally attacking her. She looks like a homewrecker, and she really is one. She even uses her dead mother as a prop for her lies. What a filial daughter. This kind of person should be blacklisted from the industry. Get out of our design circle. Her past history of sleeping her way to the top was also exposed. She was socially dead. She tried to find Leo, only to find out that he had been taken in by the tax department and couldn't even save himself. The sugar daddies she had been with before all drew a clear line with her as soon as they heard about her troubles. The high-end apartment she was renting was repossessed by the landlord, and her luxury goods were sold off. Overnight, she went from a glamorous white-collar worker back to the broke country girl she was. She was not resigned. She directed all her resentment towards me. She found the address of the old house my parents had left me and, in the middle of the night, rushed over with a bucket of red paint. She wanted to write curses on my door. She wanted to destroy me, but as soon as she got downstairs, she was stopped by 2 bodyguards in black. They were the people Ethan had arranged. "Who are you? Let me go," Evelyn screamed and struggled. The bodyguard emotionlessly took the paint bucket from her and called the police. Disturbing the peace, intentional destruction of property. Although it wasn't a capital offense, it was enough for her to spend some time in a detention center and reflect on her actions. I learned about this the next day from Ethan. "She won't have a chance to hurt you again," Ethan said. I nodded and held Noah a little tighter. I looked at the bright sunlight outside the window and, for the first time, felt that the world without Leo was so refreshing. My revenge was not over. Leo, Evelyn, this was just the appetizer. The main course was yet to come. Leo was released on bail after being held for half a month. That half a month was like a lifetime for him. He had lost everything: his company, his house, his reputation. He had fallen from the clouds into the mud. The day he was released, his mother came to pick him up. The once elegant Mrs. Hayes was now haggard and frail. "Leo, let's go home." She took Leo's hand. Her old eyes filled with tears. Home. They no longer had a home. The villa had been seized, and the old residence had been sold to pay off debts. Now, they could only squeeze into a small rented apartment of less than 50 square meters. Back in that cramped and dim room, Leo's mother made him a bowl of noodles. "Leo, go find Amelia," she sighed. "Go beg her, for Noah's sake. Ask her to let our Hayes family off. As long as she's willing to come back, I'll even kneel down and apologize to her." Leo held the bowl of noodles, unable to say a word. Find me? What right did he have to find me now? But he was not resigned. He couldn't just be defeated like this. He wanted to get back everything that belonged to him. So, he started looking for me like a madman. He went to Ethan's company to wait for me, but Ethan's company's security system was world-class. He couldn't even get in the door. He sent me countless messages, from questioning and cursing at the beginning, to begging and repenting later. "Amelia, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Come back. Okay, let's start over. I can't live without you and Noah. Please give me another chance. I swear, I will never see that bitch Evelyn again. I only have you in my heart. Think about our past 7 years. Can you really be so heartless and forget everything?" I looked at these messages and just found them laughable. If he had known this would happen, why did he do it in the first place? Seeing that I didn't reply, he started to become paranoid. He found the early education center Noah was attending. One afternoon, when the bodyguards weren't looking, he rushed in. He wanted to take Noah. He thought that as long as Noah was in his hands, I would definitely compromise. But as soon as Noah saw him, he burst into tears. "Bad man, go away." Noah struggled, not letting him hold him. Leo was stunned. In his heart, his son should be connected to him by blood, and should naturally be close to him. But Noah's eyes were full of fear and unfamiliarity. The teachers and bodyguards at the early education center quickly reacted and surrounded him. Ethan also got the news and rushed over immediately. Seeing Leo's crazed state, he didn't say a word and just threw a punch. Leo's mouth was bleeding, and he fell to the ground in a pathetic state. "Leo, if you dare to touch them, I'll make sure you never see the light of day again." Ethan's eyes were as cold as if they were from hell. Leo watched as he carefully picked up the crying Noah and gently soothed him. Then he watched as I quickly walked out from behind him and took the child with a worried expression. The 3 of us stood together, like a family, and he was like an extra clown. Jealousy and resentment almost consumed him. He got up from the ground, his eyes red, and roared, "Amelia, Noah is my son too. What right do you have to not let me see him?" I looked at him coldly. "Just because you are not worthy of being a father." Leo was issued a restraining order by Ethan, prohibiting him from approaching me and my son. He fell into complete despair. Just then, the final straw that broke the camel's back arrived. This was also the second, and last, twist I had prepared for him. I filed a lawsuit, not to divide property, but to recover a debt. On the day of the trial, I submitted one piece of evidence after another, proving that from the very beginning of the Hayes Corporation, All the funds I had invested in my personal capacity were not joint marital investments, but personal loans. For every sum of money, there was a legally binding loan agreement signed by me, as the company's CFO, and Leo, the CEO. The contract clearly stated that if the company went bankrupt and was liquidated, I, as the largest creditor, would have priority in the disposal of assets. These contracts were all signed when he was at the peak of his success. When he didn't care about money, he would sign with a flourish, not even bothering to read the content. He never thought that this person he trusted most, his wife, had set the most fatal trap for him from the very beginning. When the lawyer presented these contracts, Leo's face instantly turned pale. He was like a puppet with its strings cut. Slumping in the defendant's seat, he stared at me, his eyes full of disbelief. "Why," he muttered to himself, "Amelia, when did you start plotting against me?" I looked at him and said calmly, "From the first time you frowned at me for another woman, from the first time you took my sacrifices for granted, from the first time you forgot our vows. Leo, it's not me who plotted against you, it's you who pushed me to this point, step by step." The final verdict was without suspense. The Hayes Corporation was declared bankrupt and liquidated. All remaining assets were awarded to me to offset the debt. Leo, overnight, not only lost everything, but was also burdened with huge personal debts. He was completely finished. He came out of the courthouse like a walking corpse. His mother was waiting for him at the door. Seeing his dejected state, she rushed up and was about to curse me. "Amelia, you venomous woman, you won't have a good." Ethan's bodyguards directly stopped her. I didn't even look at them and walked straight to my car. "Amelia." Leo suddenly rushed over and knelt in front of me. He hugged my legs and cried his eyes out. "I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please forgive me." "Okay, I don't want the money. I don't want the company. I don't want anything. I just want you and Noah. Let our family live a good life. Please give me another chance. Just one last chance," he cried like a child, humbling himself to the dust. The passers-by all turned to look, pointing and whispering at us. I looked down at this man who I had once looked up to, and who had also made me despair. "Leo," my voice was soft, but clear, "you want to know why I'm so ruthless, don't you? Because the moment you left me and the child to put your coat on Evelyn, I had another child in my belly, one that was just forming, one that I hadn't had a chance to tell you about. He was gone, along with the moment you pushed me away." Leo's crying stopped abruptly. He shot his head up, his pupils constricting violently, the color draining from his face. "What did you say?" I said. "You killed your second child with your own hands," I said, word by word, plunging the sharpest knife into his heart. Leo was like he had been struck by lightning, completely frozen. His lips trembled, and he couldn't say a word, only tears streamed down his face. That was the first month after we had decided to try for a second child. I had originally planned to tell him the good news at his mother's birthday banquet as a gift. I even had the ultrasound report ready in my bag, but he gave me such a surprise. I stumbled as he pushed me away, a sharp pain shooting through my abdomen. There were so many people in the banquet hall, but no one noticed my distress. Everyone's eyes were following him and Evelyn as they left. Only I, amidst Noah's heart-wrenching cries, felt the warm blood trickling down my thigh. That little life, just like that, silently disappeared. In my most painful moment, when I needed him the most, where was he? He was in another woman's arms, showing concern for his thoughtful secretary. In that moment, I knew, the Leo the first had loved was dead. The one that remained was just a shell, corrupted by desire and fame. My love for him, along with that unborn child, died together. "No, it can't be." Leo shook his head like a madman. He grabbed my hand, his grip terrifyingly strong. "You're lying. You must be lying. Amelia, tell me it's not true." I forcefully pried his fingers off one by one. "It's true, Leo. There's already a life between us. Do you think we can still go back?" I pulled my hand away, never looked at him again, turned, and got into the car. The car started. In the rearview mirror, I saw him kneeling there for a long time, like a statue. Then, as if he had remembered something, he chased after my car like a madman. He ran, screaming my name at the top of his lungs. "Amelia, Amelia," until his figure grew smaller and smaller, finally becoming a pathetic black dot. I calmly looked away, leaned back in my seat, and closed my eyes. Ethan took my hand. His palm was warm and strong. "It's all over." I opened my eyes and looked into his deep eyes. "No," I smiled, the first genuine smile in months. "It's just beginning." A few days later, I held a press conference as the founder of Radiance Capital. I announced the official acquisition of all of the Hayes Corporation's assets and its restructuring with new business ventures. I stood in the spotlight, composed, confident, and radiant. Below the stage, Ethan held a sleeping Noah, looking at me with gentle eyes. The sunlight streamed through the floor, too, ceiling windows, warm and bright on us. As for Leo, I heard he completely lost his mind. He wanders the streets every day, grabbing people and asking if they have seen his wife and child. His mother couldn't take the shock and had a stroke, paralyzing her. His life had become a complete joke, but that had nothing to do with me anymore. My life, after personally burying that sordid past, had finally been reborn.